This is the Cal 101 podcast on Cape Atlantic Live. Here's your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Cal 101 podcast presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Kosko. With me today to start the baseball preview here in the spring is EHT head coach Bryan Carmichael. Coach, appreciate you joining me. Excited to see what you guys can do on the diamond this year. 14-12 in 2023. Got to the quarterfinals of the South Jersey Group 4 playoffs. How's the spring been treating you and your squad for 2024?
Well, Nick, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on tonight. I really appreciate that. So far, it's been, I guess you can say we're quietly optimistic here at Harbor Township High School for this upcoming season. The kids have worked tremendously hard. One of the things that we brought back, it's something we kind of got away from us once COVID. And once we came out of COVID, we kind of lost the weight room. But we just had a brand new remodel to our weight room, and we decided to take advantage of that. So the kids have been lifting. We lifted 3 days a week for the last 6 months since the beginning of September in the weight room. I think we've gotten bigger, faster, stronger, which this team definitely needed. When you see us this spring, we are not going to look like we have looked like traditionally over the past 5-6 years. We had some guys that have played for us over the course of the last couple of years that were, very large humans, big guys, and we're not that type of team anymore. We are optimistic about the team. I think we've got a good nucleus. We're just going to be very, very much different than what we've been in the past.
Yeah, it seems like this year, based on what I've read leading up to this point, you guys are a bit more under the radar, but could be, one of those quote-unquote sneaky contenders in the Cape Atlantic League and, of course, in South Jersey Group 4. When you say you guys are a little bit different than what you were the past 5 years, a perennial playoff contender, you've had Division I prospects come in and out of your program. What is different about 2024 compared to what you saw, like you said, 5 years ago?
Well, obviously last year we had two guys, that were, two of the top pitchers in South Jersey. Unfortunately, one didn't get to compete in his senior year. For the last, 5-6 years, we've had a guy that's been like that, a marquee, a front end, top of the rotation type of guy. I'm not going to say that we don't have that guy. We just don't have that guy that is on everybody's radar right now. We have some guys that are maybe a little bit unproven. And we're anxious to prove ourselves against some people. And that might just be because some of those guys that we have right now just weren't afforded the opportunities over the past couple of years because we've been so rich on the mound in the past several seasons.
So looking at some of the guys that could be standouts in 2024, mentioned before, Jay Salisbury, Jacob Cagna, guys like that. What makes those two guys special going into 2024? And are they guys that you consider that maybe were not in the spotlight over the last year or two because of the guys you've had in the past?
Well, both guys were Carpenter Cup players last year. Cagna, arguably, in the time that I've been here as the baseball coach, possibly arguably maybe the best hitter that I've ever coached. Kid, in 2 seasons, he has 62 hits. I think he's hit for 7 home runs and something like 15 doubles. Close to 50, 60 RBIs in his freshman and sophomore year. And this is a kid. It wasn't like he was batting 8th and 9th in our lineup as a freshman. He was our 3-hole hitter since he's been here as a freshman. He started every game. The same thing with Jay Salisbury. He's been the top of the lineup guy ever since his sophomore season. So these two guys have been in the mix of it. They were probably our 2 best offensive players last year. So we return our best offensive players this season off a team last year. And I think we're going to have a very good nucleus built around them. It's just that, they're maybe unproven guys. We have a core group of underclassmen that we're really excited about. And we're looking forward to putting them, through the test a little bit in the Cape Atlantic League.
When you look at some of the underclassmen, who are some of the guys that you'd like to highlight and to go along with that, do you want your approach to be this year maybe a little bit more offensive based on the offensive nucleus that you've had, or do you still want to be more of that pitching dominant and heavy rotation type of team?
Well, we are always, one of our program philosophies, we are always going to pitch on the mound, whether we're 79 to 81 or we're 89 to 91 on the mound. It doesn't really change for us. We're going to dominate the strike zone. We're going to throw a high percentage of strikes. If you can't throw strikes in this program, you can't pitch for us. That's the bottom line. Arguably, two of the best pitchers that I've ever had pitch for me over the course of my 14-year career were both guys that were 79 to 81. They could pitch to both sides of the plate, spin it a little bit, and change speeds. So we're going to be more of that type of the pitcher moving forward. Until we get some big, we just don't have that big arm, and that's fine. We can win with that. You can win at the high school level with a guy that's 79 to 81 if he can throw a curveball for a strike, because it's I've been around for a while, and there's not many high school programs that can hit a breaking ball consistently. And if we can get guys to do that and mix speeds and change locations up, down, in, out, we're going to be pretty successful in the mound. And it doesn't really matter about the velo. We subscribe more to the school of, making sure we're throwing strikes. Nobody really cares how hard you throw ball four here.
When you talk about adding that arsenal in the pitching department of, curveballs, other types of breaking balls, how do you develop something like that at the high school level? Do you just see these guys coming in that, okay, they have something, let's tinker with that a little bit? Or are you able to teach that to somebody who maybe comes in as a freshman or sophomore that you might think have some raw potential down the line?
So one of the things that I learned early on and like throughout my career, I mean, obviously I've been in education for 26 years now. But I've been coaching, let's say, college baseball and high school baseball for 30 years. One of the things I learned I took into account very early in my career is that I knew if I became a high baseball coach, I was never going to neglect my pitchers. I was always going to have somebody on staff that was dedicated to the pitchers, very similar to what you see at the college level with a pitching coach. So I've been fortunate enough here that I've had guys at Egg Harbor Township High School that I have had as my pitching coaches. And we take time out of practice. And if you are a pitcher, you could also be our shortstop, but you're still going to get your 30, 35, 40 minutes of pitching time with the pitching coach at the beginning of practice or something at some point in time during the practice where, we might be, depending on what the day is in their recovery, whether they're throwing a pen, a flat ground, whether they're working on, their pitch, the shape of their pitches, their delivery, whatever it might be, but they're down there getting tutelage from our pitching coach, and that pitching coach right now is Drew Hickman, who pitched for me. He's a 2017 graduate here.
Just to piggyback off that, what's his addition to the staff been like for you? Obviously, since you just coached him now, I mean, it's now 7 years ago, but what's his addition to the staff been like for you guys at EHT?
So one of the big things that I'm really fortunate with right now is that all of my assistant coaches, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but the majority of my assistant coaches are all guys that have played for me. And one of the biggest benefits is that, Drew played for me and then went on to play at Rowan for a short period of time. He didn't finish there or his baseball career at Rowan. And then the same thing with Monty Strickland. Mm-hmm. Monty's also, he kind of works with our hitters and coaches third base for us. Monty played for me and then went to Rowan. Well, the really unique thing is that, obviously I was an assistant at Rowan for 4 seasons. I had the opportunity to play with Mike Dixon, who's the head baseball coach at Rowan. And then I also had the opportunity to coach Mike for 2 seasons at Rowan. So Monty and Drew both playing for me, then leave here and go to Rowan and play for Mike. And the system that we run here at Egg Harbor Township is the exact same system that they run it at Rowan. So these guys have been in this for a while. They understand. I joke around all the time with Monty that I can't even get words out of my mouth, and he's already saying it. It's almost like it's because he's been around it. He's heard it. The same thing with Drew. So I've been blessed that I've been able to keep those 2 on the staff. We've also added a guy that I'm really excited about this year is Gus Casey. He's just recently retired from the Coast Guard, and he brings a lot of energy. And brings that military type of background, which kind of blends really well with me.
When you look at the way programs run, their operations, their day-to-day activities, practices, their game management, you mentioned a lot how you take a lot of your college experience with you for yourself and as well for a staff. Do you think that's a little bit unique in this area, knowing that you guys almost operate like a college program, or do you only just tinker with that and maybe a lot more programs are doing that these days?
I mean, I think I can't speak for a lot of the other programs, with some of the guys that I do speak with. I think, one of the things in the Cape Atlantic League is there's really good coaches in the Cape Atlantic League. We have to be on our toes, day in and day out here. Are they running it like a college program? I don't necessarily know, but I just know that there's really good coaches in the Cape Atlantic League. But we do. That's one of the things we talk to our kids about all the time. And I have kids that go away. I've been fortunate enough that I've sent a decent amount of kids away to play college baseball. And one of the first things, and it's a great compliment to me and the program, is that, hey, coach, listen, you were right. Our practices that we're running here at this school or that school are exactly the way our high school practices were. Or, I'll also have kids come and say, coach, our practices at high school were so much better than what we're doing right now at the college level. So it's something that we pride ourselves on. We get after it. I'm a little bit of a grinder, but I also make it a lot of fun for the kids. The kids enjoy being at practice.
Going back to my days in high school as well, I recall there was a lot of kids that would come through your baseball program and end up playing at the next level, particularly over the past couple of years. A lot more Division I prospects and guys who are getting even MLB draft looks. Where does that come from? I mean, did you spend time even before you were head coach of this program figuring out a way to kind of feed that to your program at the high school level, or is that just more of a developmental type thing over the course of 4 years when they're playing at EHT?
Well, we've been fortunate enough here at Harbor Township that we have kids that come to us that are serious about playing baseball. And one of my philosophies with the program is that, and I got this from an old colleague of mine, that, Nick Kosko, you go first class. So everything that we do in this program is going to be first class, whether it's, the equipment that we use, the uniforms that we wear. We just took a trip to Myrtle Beach. It's $22,000, fully paid for. It doesn't cost our kids a dime out of their pocket. We fundraise our butts off for it, but it's a first class operation. So one of the things, to answer your question, Nick, is, when I started doing this, I would travel around, because the baseball scene in the summer was very much different, 30 years ago than it is today. I would travel around to camps and work camps, Old Dominion, University of Virginia, the Best of Virginia, baseball camps, recruiting kids at the Division III level. So I got to spend a lot of time with a lot of Division I coaches, and I'd pick their brain, or they'd say, hey, you guys can go ahead in and rate our filing cabinet. So I have a book that's just a bunch of baseball stuff that I've collected over the years, and I kind of you steal. Nothing that I do here in this program I invented myself. I'll be the first one to tell you that. Everything that we do in this program has been stolen or borrowed from somebody, and that's just the nature of the beast in coaching. If you want to be the best, you got to get that information from the best guys. I kind of subscribe to this. I'm a lifelong learner. I continue. I'll sit and read books. I'm reading a book right now. It's called The Energy Bus by John Gordon. I'm just trying to figure out. Obviously things are very much different today than they were when I first started with the type of kid that we get today. But we want to make sure that we keep these kids engaged and we're making it fun and enjoyable for them.
Couple more for you, Coach. Bryan Carmichael with me here on Cal 1-on-1. That Myrtle Beach trip, you mentioned it, that it just for the experience factor, I would say, is great for your team ahead of the regular season. What does that trip do for your team in terms of preparation and just getting ready for the grind that is this long baseball season?
So one of the things, and it's, when we first started doing it years ago, whether it was 2015, I think it was the first year we went, I quickly realized that, being on the bus for 10, 12 hours, busing down to Myrtle Beach, that camaraderie that it builds with the team, it's something that was, I knew was irreplaceable. And then unfortunately, COVID happened in 2020 and the trip was canceled. And then we didn't go again in 2021 or 2022. But last year was the first year. And all those people, all those kids and parents that were on this trip, because a lot of our parents do attend and go with us, not necessarily on the bus, but they'll meet us down there and spend the weekend with us. I got a bunch of emails from parents saying, how enjoyable the trip was, how well run it was, how much playing time the kids got, the camaraderie, so on and so forth. And it made me really realize that, this is something that has to be a constant in our program, especially since what the NJSIA has done with the baseball season over the last 2 seasons. Normally we start baseball, when I first started back, on the first Friday of March, which would have been March 1st this year. This year we were not allowed to start full team workouts until March 14th. So that's 13 days that we lost. 13 days is a lot of time, a lot of teaching time, a lot of instruction time, a lot of scrimmage time, getting pitchers' arms ready for the short sprint of a season that this is. So going to Myrtle Beach, some people think it's crazy what we do. We leave at 7 o'clock at night, and we bus through the night. The kids sleep on the bus, and we arrive down in Myrtle Beach or the Conway area probably about 5:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the only places that's open is a Waffle House, and we go to the same one every year. And we get off the bus, and we feed, this year was 30 people in an hour. And then we get back on the bus, and we head over to Ripken. We get changed, and then we get off the bus at 7 a.m. and we're taking batting practice at 7 a.m., 12 hours after we boarded the bus. And then we play 2 back-to-back doubleheaders, 8:30 and 11 a.m. And then we eat lunch and we check into the hotel. Some people think I'm crazy, doing that. And they're like, wow, that's incredible. You put these kids on a bus, and listen, we went 2-0 this year. I know there's scrimmages and they don't count for anything, but it says something that, anytime you compete, you win a game, but let alone get on a bus for 12 hours and then get off of it and not only were we just didn't play anybody. We played arguably the best public school team in the state of New Jersey, returning in Morris Knolls, and fared pretty well against them down in Myrtle Beach. So, it just builds that toughness, that mental toughness that the kids know we're going to do this. There's nothing we can do about it. We go down there. We played 7 games in 3 days, had 3 practices, and we scrimmaged yesterday against Kingsway, and I think it showed that we were on our 8th scrimmage, and it was only their 2nd scrimmage. So there's definitely a benefit to it.
I like the building of that, especially getting right off the bus. You go eat, then you go right and play baseball, right into it, no break, right into it. And I think that'll show down the line for you guys this season. So last one for you, Coach. Appreciate it. And of course, I appreciate the time. You look at what you guys can do. It's hard to project. And I know the coach speak is game by game, one game at a time. We basically pitch by pitch with you guys. When you look at the opener against St. Joe's, what can be different from the opener on April 2nd compared to possibly a run in the playoffs this year? It's been a lot of quarterfinal appearances for you guys in the semifinals within the last 5 or so years as well. What can you guys do differently this year that can actually aid that type of strategy Group 4 run?
The biggest thing that we have to do, and I just talked to the kids, we had media day today. We do a big program ad book, media guide for our home games here. So we have to, we take the time. It's one of those program things. As much as I hate giving up practice time, but I did end up squeezing an hour and a half out of them up in the classroom, and we just talked about philosophy stuff. Maybe our approach in the batter's box, what we're trying to do offensively, and the biggest thing is a pack mentality. Getting these kids to understand that there's strength in numbers. That we're Jake Cagna and Jay Salisbury are not going to be able to go out there by themselves and beat a Vineland or beat a Millville or a mainland St. Augustine. We play in the toughest conference in South Jersey. It's going to take all. Right now we got 20 guys at the varsity. I don't know if we'll have 20 all season, but it's going to take all 20 guys for us to be successful. And that's what I mean by us being different. We don't have, back in 2019, we had, some pretty big bats, and some of those bats are finishing up their college career right now, with Jordan Sweeney, Robbie Petrossi, those type of kids. We don't have those kids right now. Jake Cagna, can, but, he needs a supporting cast around him. And the big thing is for these kids to understand that there's strength in numbers, there's strength in the pack. If we can adapt that pack mentality, do the little things. We have a motto here that little things become big things, and if we can take care of those little things, I think we're going to be all right. We're going to beat people that we're not supposed to beat. We're going to lose the people that we shouldn't lose to this year. But if we're battle tested and we're ready to go in at the end of May, that's all we can ask for.
Well, looking forward to see what the Eagles can do here this spring. Coach, appreciate the time. Good luck this season, and hope to talk to you down the line as you guys make a playoff run this year.
Nick, thanks for having me on. I love what you're doing, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate that, Coach. This is Cal 101 on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Be sure to check out the rest of our content on our YouTube channel.